Hey guys, it's Mr. Walker here again, and thanks for joining me for another awesome math lesson today. Today we're going to jump into things a little bit quicker because this lesson is just kind of a continuation of things that we've done in previous lessons. So we're going to be doing some more practice with rounding today. And we're going to see how we can round decimals to different place values, how we can use that vertical number line to help us, and kind of like why this might be important to us at some point in the future. So if you would, just make sure you have something to write on, something to write with. That dry erase sleeve would be perfect. And go ahead and draw yourself your place value chart here. I have it divided into different sections because we're going to be looking at the unit value of these decimals and different unit values of them. So make sure you get that drawn out. Make sure you're ready to go, and then click continue, and we'll jump in and get working. All right, so let's jump in and take a look at the first example. What we're going to do first is we're going to round the number 49 and 67 hundredths to the nearest 10. So we're not looking at a decimal place value yet. Right now we're just looking to round it to the nearest 10, okay? So before we even do that, before we even take a guess as to what that might be, what we're going to do is we're going to list the unit values for the number 49 and 67 hundredths. We're going to list them in here, all the different ways that we can make that number, and then we can use that to help us round. So go ahead and see if you can list the different ways that you can make that number using tens, ones, tenths, and hundredths, and then we'll come back together and we will take a look at how we can use them to help us round. All right, awesome. So if I wanted to think about this number and the different unit values for it, well, first of all, I could take a look at the number, okay, our 49 and 67 hundredths, okay, that we're dealing with. And I can break it down first by the place values that I'm seeing. So I have 4 tens, right, 4 tens, 9 ones, 6 tenths, and 7 hundredths. That's easy enough. That's the most common way that we could break it down there, right? I could also think of this as 49 ones, right, 49 ones, 6 tenths, and 7 hundredths. So I could break it down that way as well. I could also think of it as 496 tenths, because if we were to take those 496 tenths and group them into groups of 10, I would end up with 49 ones, which is the same as 4 tens and 9 ones. So you could just see different ways of expressing the same number using the unit values, okay? And then again, I could think of it as 4,967 thousandths, or I'm sorry, 4,967 hundredths, and then I could regroup them appropriately if I needed to. So I have all these different ways that I could look at the number 49 and 67 hundredths, okay? So what I want you to do now is I want you to take a second and think about which one of these would be the best for us to use if we're trying to round to the nearest 10. Which one is going to help us the most trying to round to the nearest 10? Okay, so let's jump in and do some rounding, knowing which one we're going to use. So to me, the easiest one is to use is going to be the one that's here showing our tens, right? Because that's the place value that we're rounding to. So we have our tens here. So if I were to work with that vertical number line, okay, I'll draw that up here. The first thing I want to do is I want to think about the low point, the smallest point of my tens, and then if I count it up by 10 more. So looking at my tens, how many tens do I have in this number? 4, right? So I'm going to say 4 tens is going to be my starting point, which is the same as 40, right? So then if I did 10 more than that, right, because I'm looking at tens, so 4 tens is my low point, 5 tens would be my high point, which would be the same as 50, okay? And then what would come right in the middle here? What's in between 4 tens and 5 tens? What's in between 40 and 50? All right, so between 4 tens and 5 tens would be 45, or 4.5 tens, okay? So now I have my low point, have my high point, I have my middle, and now I can figure out where our number is going to fall on this vertical number line. So we have 49 and 67 hundredths. Well, if I start here at 40, I know this is going to be 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, and then 50. I have 49. 49 is going to fall right about here. 49.67 would be up in there somewhere. So looking at this vertical number line, am I closer to 50 or am I closer to 40? Yeah, I'm way closer to 50, right? So 49 and 67 hundredths rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 50. Okay, so we were able to break down that number into its units place values. We were able to use a vertical number line to put those numbers where they needed to go. And then we were able to round to that place value. Easy enough, right? What I want you guys to do now is I want you to try to round this number again, but I want you to round it to the nearest ones and the nearest tenths. Okay, so how would you use what we have here in this chart along with your vertical number line to help you round to the nearest ones and then the nearest tenths? So give that a try and then we'll come back and talk about it together. All right, so if I was going to round to the nearest ones place, okay, I want to look at my ones place here, which is 49. Okay, so I have 49 ones. So I'm going to start with 49 here. And then if I counted one more up, that would be 50. Okay, and if I were to look about halfway in between 49 and 50, well, that would be 49.5. Okay, 49 and a half. That's halfway in between 49 and 50. That's the middle. Okay, so we have the middle here. And now we want to put our number on there somewhere, figure out where it's going to be, and then see what it's closer to. All right, so looking here, we have 49 and 67 hundredths, right? That's our number. So I have 49, so this would be 49.1, 49.2, all the way up to 49.5. This would be 49.6, 49.7, keep forgetting that 9, 49.8, and 49.9, and then 50, right? So our number is 49.67, so we're going to fall probably right around in here somewhere. Okay, so is it closer to 50 or is it closer to 49? Right, it's going to be closer to 50, okay? So if we round it to the nearest ones, let me just write this over here. We rounded it to the nearest ones, that would be 50, because that's what we're closer to, okay? Hopefully this is starting to click. Hopefully this is starting to make a little bit of sense. If not, you know how to get a hold of me, get a hold of another teacher, get a hold of your learning guide. You can practice this a little bit more. Let's do one more where we round to the tenths now. We're going to round to the tenths. You guys should have already practiced this, but let's look at it together. All right, so this one we might notice a little bit more of a difference because we're rounding to a different place value. We're getting further down that line. So when we're looking at this, when we were rounding to the tens, we used this one. When we were rounding to the ones, we used the unit place value with the ones. Now we're going to round to the tenths, so we're going to use this guy right here because that's what we're rounding to as a tenths. So my low point is going to be 496. If I counted up from that one more tenth, that would give me 497. Okay? So looking at this now, if I was going to count to find the middle point, right, the midpoint, I would start with 49.6.1, 49.6.2, 49.6.3. You get the idea, 0.4, and then this would be 49.6.5. That's going to be the middle, okay? It's going to be the middle, but we want to find where our number is. So I'm just going to put in a few more here just so I can recognize it. 49.6.6, 49.6.7, 49.6.8, 49.6.9. Now, I'm doing this every time to kind of illustrate this point, but really when you guys are using this vertical number line to help you, you only have to draw on that middle point. If you can visualize the rest of it without having to write in each individual one, that's awesome. But I like to do it just to kind of illustrate it here for you guys so you can see it a little bit easier. So looking at our number now, we have 49.6.7, okay? 49.6 and 7 hundredths. So that's going to fall right here. So that means, are we closer to 497 or are we closer to 496? Yeah, we're closer to 497. So if we were to round our number to the nearest tenth, it would round up to 400. I'm sorry, it would round up to 49.7. 49.7. Okay? Perfect. It would round up, we could say it like this. It would round up to 497 tenths, which is what we got here. 497 tenths is the same as 49 and 7 tenths. Okay? Just so we can make that connection there. All right, awesome. So we saw some rounding here. We did a few examples real quick to kind of see how we could use the different unit values and the vertical number line to help us round. If you guys feel more comfortable using the strategy of 5 or more raise the score or something to that effect, I'm not going to say you can't use that. But the reason we did these is so you could see that background to understand why we're rounding up or why we're rounding down. But if you wanted to look at this as 49 and 67 hundredths, we're rounding to the nearest tenths place. That means I look next door. If he's higher than 5, I'm going to round up. If he's 5 or higher, I'm going to round up. If not, I'm going to leave him the same. So in this case, I'm going to round up. So this guy would be 49 and 7 tenths. Obviously, this is a little bit faster, but this helps you understand why that is. So that's why we were taking the time to go through these examples and do it this way. I would caution you to make sure that you have an understanding of why this works before you move right into this method, because although we will be doing this later on this year, it's important for us to have that why, that understanding of how that works, to be able to break those numbers down into the unit values in order to use them to help us round. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this is starting to click. Again, if you guys need any other help with it, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. And I thank you for watching.